Hello friends, Inside Jacob's Mind here. Don't mind him, he's just here to observe. It's been an interesting year for film. I've seen nearly 150 movies from 2018. I'm not done yet. So it's time to talk about the worst of the worst. Yes, I know the internet's a negative enough place as it is. I don't need to spread more of it, and I know people work really hard on these films, but, you know, I feel like I have to. I've got to talk about the worst of the worst. I've got to air some grievances, if you will. New location here, just moved house. So yeah, been a pretty busy couple of weeks, but squeezing it in right here. So without further ado, top 10 worst films of 2018. Gonna get started with some honorable mentions here. The Meg, Jason Statham's shark movie. It did have some enjoyable moments, but it was just it wasn't cheesy enough. If it had been MA rated and bloody and gory and more one-liners, it would have been better if it took itself less seriously. Skyscraper, The Rock's latest action thing. It's just really ugly to look at. He doesn't have a lot of charisma in it. No one really does. It's like a weird version of Die Hard kinda, and it was just very, very boring. Pacific Rim Uprising. Now this one upset me because I'm a huge fan of the first one, and where the first one was Guillermo del Toro, a great director executing a creative vision, an awesome monster movie, Pacific Rim Uprising is a product. It's just made to make money. There's no joy in it. Most of the threats in the film are man-made. It takes away the joy of kaiju fighting robots, and it was a big, big disappointment. The 1517 to Paris. This is Clint Eastwood's film about 3 civilians who stopped a terrorist attack on a train, and the 3 guys actually play themselves in the movie, and it's no fault of their own. They're not actors. They were thrown into the deep end with this one. It's just a very mundane and boring movie, and I get what they were going for, but it just didn't work. And finally, The Girl in the Spider's Web. I was really looking forward to this one, but it just didn't work for me. It's competently made on a filmmaking level. Like, the cinematography is not bad. You know, it's alright, but they kind of just... It wasn't true to the character, I felt. I haven't read the book it's based on. But Lisbeth Salander, I've always seen as this sort of champion for the abused and broken and, you know, fighting the system and shit like that. But this movie, it's just a superhero movie. It's just a basic MacGuffin plot with some nuclear weapon, and she basically just gets caught up in this plot to try and save the world. And it's like, no, that's not what it should be about. And it's no fault of Claire Foy. She was excellent as Lisbeth Salander and could have been really cool if the movie around her had been better. Alright, number 10 is The Commuter by Yome Collet-Serra, who's made some pretty fun action movies like Non-Stop and everything with Liam Neeson, and this once again has Liam Neeson. It's set on a train, and he starts getting these messages like, you know, I will kill someone. I don't actually remember. Was that the plot of Non-Stop I was just describing? I don't know, but all I know is The Commuter was really, really boring to start with, and then it just got ridiculous toward the end. Like, Collette's movies have always sort of been reined in enough where they're goofy, but it's still believable. This movie just goes off the rails, literally, in the third act, and I just didn't find any enjoyment in it. The Hurricane Heist. Now, that title alone should tell you what it is, but there's this big storm, and these people try to rob some government facility, and a bunch of rednecks who are doing terrible southern accents have to go and stop them. It's amazing. Toby Kebbell throws hubcaps at people in the wind, and it's so goofy. And my problem is it wasn't goofy enough. It was almost a so bad it's good masterpiece, but it just sort of ended up being mediocre, and yeah, I don't know why I watched it. Slender Man is number 8, and honestly better than I thought it would fare before I watched it. This movie's really bad. The screenplay is ridiculous. Just the dialogue is stilted and awkward. Like, they watch a kind of like The Grudge or The Ring or whatever. Yeah, The Ring, I think. They watch a video that gives them the Slender Man curse or something, and later on they're talking about it, and the girl's like, we watched that website video, and I'm like, you couldn't get the rights to say the word YouTube. What's a website video? There's weird dream sequences that make no sense. The characters do 180 turns all the time and make decisions that do not make sense in character. At one point, a girl decides she's gonna bring Slender Man out in the open to sort of fight him or serve as a distraction or something, and she's like, "Hey, Slender Man, come get me!" And then Slender Man comes out to get her, and then she screams and runs away. It's like, you asked for this. I'm not trying to victim blame or anything here, but yeah, so this movie was like watching paint dry. It's really, really silly and boring. Now, this is an interesting one. This is a movie that most people probably forgot about, and it got sort of down the middle reviews and didn't really bother anyone and stuff. And I could not stand Mary Magdalene. I went and saw this in the theater because I thought, you know, the dude made Lion. It's good. You know, Rooney Mara's good. Joaquin Phoenix is great. Let's see what they do. And I didn't dislike this because it was a Bible story. I disliked this because it was just a boring dredge through sadness and pain and depression. And the movie kind of lost me when at one point a woman tells Jesus Jesus tells a woman that the woman has to forgive a rapist who like raped her daughter or something like that. And the woman's like, "Oh, okay." And I'm like, yeah, that ain't it. No, that's not happening. The movie never really won me back after this. Yeah, this movie really bothered me. And the one saving grace is Johan Johansson's score, one of his final scores. Rest in peace to the man. The score was excellent, but the movie really left me with a bad taste in my mouth. Mile 22, the best film by Olivier Megaton that was not directed by Olivier Megaton. Holy shaky cam. This movie is the scene in Taken 3 where Brian Mills jumps a fence in 14 takes? That's this whole movie, because holy shit, the action is cut up to death. And the choreography isn't bad. You've got Iko Uwais from the Raid movies doing some genuinely great fight scenes, but you cannot see what's happening in them because the choreography is just everywhere. It's like, why? You're not hiding a stunt, man. Iko Uwais knows how to do these stunts, so it just didn't make sense. It's like you got Mark Wahlberg narrating with this weird, like some grand commentary on the horrors of war or something, or the moral ambiguity of what they do, and the movie's just an escort mission basically, and it's really, really boring. It gets 1 star because Iko Uwais says to Mark Wahlberg, "Say hi to your mother for me" at one point, and that was just Now, this would be lower if it wasn't so much goddamn fun. For those of you who ever haven't heard of it, I've been following it because I'm a Brie Larson fan and stuff, but this movie was shot like 6 years ago, and it's a musical starring Brie Larson as a woman who works for like a rice company or something, and they're making this sort of modified rice in India, and they send her to go and be their spokesperson to sell the new product to the Indian people. And Donald Sutherland's an evil man. He runs the company. He wants money because business. He even sings a song about business. And the movie is just it's incompetent. The editing is ridiculous. The songs are like okay on their own, I guess, but the movie's ridiculously goofy. It feels like it's stuck in like 2001. It's not quite a white savior movie, but it kind of is this white guy. It's like, oh, look how silly the Indians' culture is. Ha ha, comedy. And it feels like this should not have even been released. I think they just released it to cash in on Brie Larson winning an Oscar. And this movie's hilarious. Like, I honestly recommend it. It's so bad that it's awesome. And that's the only reason it's only number 5 and not lower, because me and my friends just were laughing the entire way through. So yeah, Basmati Blues. Number 4 is kind of the reason that I took so long to make this list. I've been waiting to get around to check this film out. I watched it a couple days ago, and this film is GOTTI. I'd heard too much about this to let it slip through the cracks, and I'm glad I watched it isn't the right word, but I certainly watched it. GOTTI is the true story of a leader of a crime family named John Gotti, played by John Travolta, who he's certainly acting in the film. But I'm not going to say the entire thing's his fault like a lot of people are. It's just a really poorly made movie. I just bought a new TV, and it was the first film I watched on that TV, and I was sitting there like, oh, this TV has pretty bad brightness and coloring and stuff. And then I put something else on and just realized, oh no, that's just the way GOTTI is shot. So yeah, I didn't think it was a hilarious trashter piece like a lot of people did. I thought it was just a mediocre gangster movie for much of it. The second half sort of devolves. It's literally just a collection of gangster movie cliches. Like, hey, motherfucker, forget about it. I never liked that guy, Paulie. We gotta whack him. It's just all shit like that for the whole time. The structure is strange. There's no plot. And the movie has a very strange message. It's like trying to tell us that John Gotti was some sort of folk hero for the community, and shame on the government for putting him in prison for murders that he committed. It even cuts to a bunch of real-life testimonials from people saying, John Gotti was a hero, and stuff like that. And it's like, did they really think people would respond to this? I don't know. So yeah, it wasn't like offensively bad, but it was not a good film. I even had to take a break halfway through because it was just mind-numbing. Number 3 is a film I watched pretty early in the year, and I don't particularly remember a lot of it, but that film is Game Over Man. It sort of comes from the Workaholics guys. It was a Netflix movie, and I don't even remember much of the plot. They're like waiters at some kind of event catering thing like that, and they get attacked by terrorists or something, and these guys have to stop them, but they're trying to finance a video game or something. I don't remember this freaking movie. I just know it's tasteless, unfunny garbage. It's like, I love a dick joke as much as the next guy, but this movie just is... goes for the low-hanging fruit every single time, and I did not enjoy a second of it, and I wish I could unwatch it. I thought this was going to be my number 1 for most of the year. It was until a couple weeks ago. Number 2 is Mute. This movie came into my house, poisoned my crops, and kicked my dog to death. It made me that angry. Mute is this kind of a spiritual it's set in the same universe as Duncan Jones's previous film Moon, which is one of my all-time favorite sci-fi movies about Sam Rockwell as a dude who's on the moon and companies doing shady stuff, blah blah blah. So I've been excited for this for like 3 years. I've been following every bit of the production. I'll be like, yes, Duncan Jones is finally going to continue this. It's going to be amazing. And it peed all over me. It peed all over me. Mute. It's about this mute bartender played by Alexander Skarsgård, and he gets caught up in some sort of thing. There's evil people played by Paul Rudd. Paul Rudd was enjoyable, I'll give him that. There's evil people played by Paul Rudd and Justin Theroux. And Justin Theroux's character's a pedophile, and the movie never really condemns it. It's more just like, oh, Jim over there, he likes fucking kids. He's so silly. That's kind of the attitude the movie has towards it, and it's like, what? But no, I just think this movie was, again, like Game Over Man, it was tasteless. Some of the lines of dialogue were really, really just disgusting, and not in like an in-universe grimy sort of way. Just like, this is just not pleasant for anyone to watch, and it just crapped all over the legacy of Moon. It alludes to it in one scene in the background on a TV, and Mute is here because it ruined any chance I'm ever going to have of seeing a meaningful continuation of that story. And it made me lose faith in Netflix movies on the whole. But, I'll still trust them. They had some good ones this year. We might get to that in my best list. But yeah, Mute ruined my day when I watched it. How do you fuck up a goddamn Step Brothers reunion? That movie is an American comedy classic. How do you fuck that up? I was really looking forward to this until the reviews started to trickle through, and, they didn't do critic screenings and everything, and it's by Enton Cohen, who hasn't really made anything good, and he made Get Hard and stuff. But this movie was just... the least redeemable film I saw this year. I could not pull anything away from it that I liked. The accents are awful. The jokes are awful. It's lazy. It feels like an extended, rejected Saturday Night Live skit. It's like... a friend of mine was telling me that there are two kinds of jokes in this movie. One, character gets hit by something, and two, that didn't happen in that time period. There's a bunch of references to the Trump administration and stuff, and it's just really forced. And, you know, you can do anachronistic humor well, but this movie just doesn't. It takes the lazy option every single time. There's a scene where the two characters just keep accidentally punching each other in the face, and it's like, what is happening here? It's not funny. I wanted to die in the theater. And the movie's kind of racist and really sexist towards women. The female characters are kind of just treated as prizes for the men to be won by the male leads. And they think they can make this okay by having Rebecca Hall's character every now and then slyly comment on it. Like, she'll make a subtle reference about how, I only get paid 20% of what my male counterparts get paid. And they think that makes all the other sexism okay, and it doesn't. Holmes and Watson is the worst movie I saw this year. There's nothing redeeming it. It almost always ends up being a comedy because, you know, with bad dramas and stuff, there's usually something you can latch onto. If a comedy isn't funny, it's just a painful experience, and I just learned that once again this year. So that's it for my worst films of 2018 list. Cameron, did I do okay?
Yeah.
He hasn't seen any of them, so he's living a pretty good life. But yes, that was the worst of my year in 2018, and it was a pretty good year. I didn't really see many other bad movies besides what I talked about today, aside from a few more. But I watched a lot this year, so my best list will be coming. Probably not until sort of end of February, because I like to wait until the Oscar stuff comes out. But it hasn't been as good a year as 2017 so far, but it's been pretty damn good. So thank you for watching. Thanks for the support on this channel. Thanks to anyone who checked out my short film that I put up a couple months ago. You know, it's amateur, but I guess, I don't know, I appreciated all the feedback anyone gave us. And again, who am I to talk shit on all these movies, because I don't fucking know what I'm doing, but I want to keep learning and I love talking about them. So thank you very much for watching this video. More to come in the coming months. And of course, if you do enjoy my film related content, check out my podcast, Children of Film. There'll be a link here somewhere. Thank you. Have a great day.